to find a way to win on the road against a quality program like Ohio State. And once again, excited for what's next, to see how much better we can continue improving, how much better we can be as a group. We still feel like there's a lot of room for growth for this team, and we're excited to keep trying to find our potential.
James, you want to start us off, please?
Dusty, a couple questions. I guess as somebody who grew up in Big Ten country, just what were your impressions of the Michigan State rivalry and what stood out about it?
What was my impressions of the Michigan State rivalry?
Yeah.
I mean, every game I watched, it was obvious the amount of intensity and passion for the game, and it was typically two really good basketball teams going tooth and nail, competing, and usually both of them were in championship contention. So it seemed like it was always a big nationally televised game, either during the week or a Saturday or Sunday, and if it was on, I was usually going to try to check it out.
And since getting the job here, have you heard from any former basketball players or coaches or other coaches at other sports here that have told you stories about this rivalry in these football schools?
I speak frequently to a lot of the former players, and to be honest, I was it was odd because I started getting texts about a week ago about players and people were coming in for the MSU game, and I was saying, we play OSU first, like we got, we're on the road in Columbus, so yeah, people are obviously very, very excited. We know what it means, but we also we have to focus on us playing really good basketball against a quality team.
Chris?
Talk about the importance of transition defense and how you prepare for that against an opponent like this.
Well, hopefully we don't do it as well as them. We've tried to emphasize running the floor like they do and some other elite teams that do it. But so hopefully it's not where we're going from a D to an A. We probably do it at a B. They do it at an A. So we've got to get a little bit better with the way we play, and hopefully we prepared. But getting great shots on offense and not having that lag time of relaxing because something went well, or dropping your head because something went poorly, because the next thing's going to happen very quickly against Michigan State.
Do you like the fact that you have a little bit of time off here to get the legs back? Doesn't matter?
I think we coaches, we're gonna find a way to complain it's too long or too short or whatever the case. It's our schedule. I mean, ideally you'd play every 3 days and play every 3 days, but that's not. I think sometimes we get an advantage and sometimes we're at a disadvantage based on the schedule, and it's something we can't control. So we play a game Friday, so what's the best way for us to prepare for this game and then also for the amount of games going forward?
Tony?
Yeah, Dusty, you talk about the full rivalry week, right? And because in football, obviously it's the two chief rivals, but Ohio State sort of seems to take the lead, obviously, in football. In basketball, it feels flipped. So I wonder, and you talked about at Purdue, like you didn't know what you were getting into until you're there, right? I guess how can guys like Will or Namari sort of help tell the story of what the Michigan State rivalry is, and how much can this maybe even be another level from what you guys just experienced?
Well, I almost felt guilty that I immediately turned the page last night. I think that I didn't even realize it, but the staff was laughing because I think I was walking back from doing press and I was talking about one of the actions, how we're going to defend this action that Michigan State runs. And so in the locker room, though, Ian Burns, Harris Hogwarts, those guys are Michigan is very important to them. Jace Howard, the guys that grew up were already talking about this game on Friday and how it felt good to win a rivalry game on the road in Columbus, but they were already turning the page as well, with all focus turning towards the Spartans on Friday.
Andrew?
Dusty, in regard to the close games, in theory every basket counts the same, but like some teams do play differently, like to their detriment at the end of games. Why do you think your team, at least recently, hasn't done that?
A couple reasons. First, we played a challenging schedule early, and when we were still trying to figure ourselves out, and they didn't go well. Things went. One game we slipped and fell twice and gave up pick six layup. Just some bad fortune, but we didn't drop our heads. We didn't point fingers. We didn't place blame. We all just came together to try to find the solution to get better and win those games going forward. And so that I think that experience, but more importantly, the character in our locker room is the biggest reason. But we do. I mean, when we get in those situations, we talk about how our trust and belief in each other is going to allow us to win this 4-minute game or whatever the case. And we don't need heroes. We're not playing hero ball. We're not playing anything other than let's continue to function as a group and find the best shot. And if it doesn't work out, then let's get on the glass and then get our defense set and get a stop. And we have a lot of confidence, but it's a little bit overblown. I've seen the numbers, and this is the most ever. Indiana hits a half-court shot with 0.5 seconds, whatever it was, and that's a 6-point win. Rutgers hits 2 threes in the last 20 seconds after we missed the front end, kind of let our guard down. So it's not as if those were as close as Bruce Thornton shooting an 8-foot shot with 2 seconds left to tie the game. So we've been in a lot of close games, but Minnesota, Ohio State, those are close games. I mean, even Braden Smith, he bangs in the 2 really tough shots just to get them back where that last shot meant something, and it still took us missing a free throw, a front end, or whatever the case. So, we've been in a lot of close games. We have a lot of confidence and belief that we're going to win that 3 or 4 minute game down the stretch.
Alejandro?
As you guys are rounding into the final stretch of the season and have this time off, how does this period of time off differ from maybe the week off you had earlier this year?
Very, very similar. We have to take 2 days off because of scheduling, and when you play 3 games in 7 days like we're about to, you can't take any days. So there's certain things you have to do, and so we'll take 2 days off. Our guys hopefully will take today off and work on their bodies, cold tub and treatment, and then tomorrow they'll get some individual work in, just refining their game, and then just like any break, we try to find a couple things that while we have a couple practices, what can we put in, whether it's a zone, whether it's a tweak to the zone, whether it's a something to get the ball to this player in their sweet spot, or something we can counter the way teams have defended this well, and we know if the last team defended it well, then the next team, because we're in a really well-coached league, the next teams are probably going to mimic that. So then how do we counter that, and how do we play off that? And so those are the things we're doing right now, just trying to figure out what we need to do to beat Michigan State, but also what do we need to add now that we're not going to have time to add next week.
Coach in the back with TV.
Yeah, even if some of these games are deceptively close, like you said, they're still all tough games in this conference. And when you go through a stretch like this, I guess you probably get to see this team become what you knew they could be. But is there anything that you've learned about this team over this time?
Yeah, when we don't make shots, we can still find a way to win, and that's been our message all year. That making the shots, we haven't shot the ball well. I don't have the stats in front of me. I think we were 7 of 21 from 3 last night, and we were extremely happy with the quality of looks. It wasn't as if they were late shot clock, step back 27-footers. We felt like we got great looks, and we didn't shoot it that well, and there were shots we would take every single day of the week. So our message has been that when the shots go in, that just determines the margin of victory. We can separate, but the nights the shots aren't falling, then we have to find ways to win, whether it's through our defense, through rebounding, through whatever the case. And last night it was our bench stepped up, and then obviously down the stretch, Danny made plays and Roddy made plays, and Vlad came up with a couple of huge offensive rebounds. So in this league, you're gonna have to find different ways to win. Hopefully we get back to where we're banging in shots at a higher clip, but if we don't, then we still feel very confident we're gonna find a way. We just don't know what that way might be yet.
Dennis?
You comment on Wolf's versatility. I don't know if you had him on Thornton on that last play. I mean, he was on Thornton, but it seemed like some other spots. I don't know if there were switches, but they seemed like he was guarding a 6'2" guy.
Well, with Thornton, we leading up into in preparation, and they set so many ball screens, and we switched 1 through 4 anyway, that we weren't going to be able to control the matchup per se for the entire game. But we did talk about that if we could find a way to get Danny on him late because of his ability to get to his spots and elevate and bump guards back, that every time Danny ended up on him on the bench, I would say to the coaches next to me, this is the best case scenario for us right now against Thornton, who's such a strong, powerful guard, especially when he gets in the paint. So obviously, I think Danny falling down probably confused him and threw off his rhythm a little bit, but Danny's ability to keep him in front, stay down on his shot fakes, and force the next thing was, probably one of the most pivotal reasons we were able to get some stops down the stretch. That and the zone defense.
The announcers, I don't know, someone told them that you downplayed the rivalry with Ohio State. You've already sounded like some of the players are cranking this one up. Football, it's kind of a nasty rivalry. How would you want the Michigan State rivalry to be viewed moving forward?
I think it's part of it, but our focus has to be on us playing basketball. The rivalry is great for everyone else, but if we're consumed with all the extra stuff, then we're not focused on what we need to do as far as getting back in transition defense, knowing personnel tendencies, things like that. So obviously we know the importance of the rivalry, but we're not going into it, I guess, relying on our fans, relying on anyone else to win us the game because it's a rivalry. Like we have to put in the work, we have to prepare, and we have to perform at a high level in that environment.
I got a quick one after this, but in terms of Danny, going back to him, but on offense, feels like he's limiting turnovers more lately and is just a little more under control and knows when to take a guy and when not to. Have you seen that sort of improvement from him?
Yeah, and even his first turnover, I thought he had, it was weird because I felt like Vlad and Trey were open, and he kind of threw it in between the two. And so I don't know, I didn't ask him if it slipped or whatever the case, but for that to be his only turnover with his usage and having guards underneath him, he's using his pivots better, he's using his size and stature more effectively than he was earlier in the year. He's not over dribbling, and he's taking what the game gives him. I think the play to end the first half was indicative of his growth. Our guys, Trey Donaldson set a great screen and ended up Danny found him on a diagonal skip across the court. He got a great look. It didn't drop, and Vlad gets the tip in because they were off balance. And so that's, he had guards on him last night. Ohio State put their guards on him, and so he was able to play over the top a little bit more. But also some of his turnovers this year have been where he saw something as an elite passer that maybe a cutter didn't see. And also, I'm not complaining about officiating, but he's not throwing it when Vlad's open. Like, he sees it before Vlad's open. He's reading the coverage and he's throwing it before Vlad's open. So if Vlad starts to roll to where he's going, and a guy that weighs 240 pounds grabs his arm and holds him, and the ball drops to no man's land, I mean, it's easy to point the finger at Danny, but that's where he's adjusted. We said, we can't control that, and so now you've got to make these adjustments and tweaks. So if they do that and it's not called, then it's not a turnover. We still have an option to go on to the next thing. So he's adjusted, he's simplified some things, but I mean, just the reps and experience that he's getting night in, night out is probably the best thing for his growth.
And then real quick, just how is Phat developing behind the scenes, a guy we haven't seen in a while?
He's been really good on scout team. It's tough when you're out of the rotation to just continue putting that next foot forward and putting that hard hat on every day. We've had to challenge him a few days not to wait till next year. We need him this year. There's going to be a game that he's going to have to come in and help us win a possession, win a couple possessions, and that's the importance of being on a team, but also he should be soaking it all in right now, what he's learning from Trey Donaldson and Roddy and Ruben and these older veteran guards that have been through the fires. But we're not big believers in let's wait till next year. Like, his job now is to compete at a championship level every single day of practice and challenge those guys and make sure that we're holding them up to a standard where they can't just coast.
Charles?
Yeah, what has stuck out to you about Michigan State's offense, specifically from the guards?
I mean, they have a slew of them. Those guys, they get to their spots, they elevate, they run good stuff, whether their bigs are great screeners, so they have their spots they get to, and they're automatic from there. But, all they're all good. I mean, Akins is a good guard, Fears is a good guard. They just have a lot of really good guards, and they've had different guys step up every single night, and that's one of the reasons they're in contention for a championship as well, because they have a lot of different guys, so they don't have to rely on one or two players. Their bench is extremely effective with Carr coming in, and obviously with whichever guard doesn't start. And then their backup bigs are starting caliber bigs. There's no drop off when they do go to their second unit. So they present a number of challenges.
On your left with Mike.
Before coming here, did you have any type of relationship with Tom Izzo at all? And in that same vein, what's going to be like coaching against him?
I wouldn't say relationship. It's a lot of coaches' relationships are developed through competing or in recruiting circles. And I've been in the deep, deep South for a long time and didn't spend a lot of time in Michigan. I came up here maybe once a year, once every other year to recruit, so we had relationships with the people around them. But Dane Fife, a very close friend of mine who we went to IU together, and then we were on staff together, worked for him. So I always, if I saw Dane on the road, I'd sit by Dane, and obviously Coach Izzo would be there a lot of times. So couldn't have more respect for him as a coach, for them as a program, for what he's built, what he's sustained, the pride and passion that they have their former players have for their program is very similar to the pride and passion that the Michigan players have for this program. So it's unique. He's built something special, and that's what continuity does.
Zach?
Dusty, can you talk to kind of Vlad's consistency recently and kind of how the progression of what you and the players have referred to as like the Mad Vlad version of him and how you see Matt progress over the season?
Yeah, I don't think Mad Vlad, it was more touch and skill Vlad last night. I mean, he was knocking in the floaters. He was on the glass. I mean, he blocked one shot off the backboard, and he caught it in the air and dunked it before I think anyone in the gym knew what the heck happened. He's just finding different ways to impact the game. He had a big shot block late whenever they were on their run. I think it was Mahavy shot it, and those have a residual effect. He's just a good basketball player. We take him for granted. Like I said earlier in the year, Danny gets a lot of credit for the 4-5 pick and roll, but show me another big that finds space like he does and catches the ball in front, behind, low, high, wherever. And then his ability, and he left a couple on the floor last night that didn't drop for him, but his ability to catch on the move and finish. Turn on a game tonight. It's not something that you're going to see in college basketball a lot. And obviously, there's a partnership that makes it all work with the shooting around them and the screens that the guards set to help give those guys separation. But, man, Vlad's ability to catch and finish on the move is special.
And with the 4-5 pick and roll, just kind of the progression of teams being a little bit more physical on that, can you talk about how you kept that fresh and kept that kind of a key part of your offense?
Yeah, and some teams can defend it better than others just based on personnel. And so we defend certain things better because of what we're wired to do and what our personnel dictates. But, we've just tried to find ways to hide it, to camouflage it, to use it as a decoy, to use it as an overreaction to get someone else a shot. So just trying to be strategic of not using it too much, but also using it enough because it's extremely effective when it's executed properly.
Take one more, Chris.
You said before you even assembled your roster that you didn't want to wait till next year, but when did you know that this team had the potential to be in championship contention with 3 weeks to go?
A lot has to go right to be in championship contention. First and foremost, health. We've been relatively healthy all year. Sam Walters has an injury now, but other than that, we're a pretty healthy group. That factors into it. There's just a lot that goes into being in, other than playing really good basketball. Because if you look at some of the teams in our league, there are several that could be right here in position if things just flipped a little bit differently. But all summer, I remember we'd be in practice and we'd have, high school coaches come to watch or whoever, and they would comment about how good they thought we were, and you'd have coaches you respect coming in that maybe they're in the NBA or whatever the case, and they're talking about how, they're giving you a different view of your team that you're not in that foxhole with every single day. But there were several times this summer, and I walked and I'd ask one of the coaches during practice during a break. I'd say, "Man, we got a chance to be pretty darn good, don't we?" And they'd say, "No question." So that was usually the answer. We knew we had a long way to go. We had to figure some things out, but we were confident once we saw our team together. And even that didn't happen until August or September because Ruben had some health issues and whatnot. We never really saw our group practice. Pippen wasn't able to practice all summer. We didn't see our group together, I think, until probably September when we had the bulk of them together. And I think since September, we knew we had a chance.
Okay, Coach.
Thanks, guys.